Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Jessica shouted as she entered the luxurious lobby of the Starlight Tower, breathless, carrying her 4-year-old daughter, Emily, in her arms and a cooler bag of takeout in her left hand. The doorman didn't even have time to stop her. She walked right past, panting, trying to fix her hair and her delivery company cap as she pressed the elevator button. Emily, clinging to her mother's chest, commented with the cruel logic of children, "Mommy, you smell like soy sauce and sweat." Jessica smiled. "And you smell like the strawberry candy you snuck out of reception." Smart girl. On the 32nd floor, the apartment door opened before she could even knock. The client, an elegant blonde woman with a look of disgust on the tip of her perfectly arched eyebrow, glanced at her watch. 1 minute late. Jessica's eyes widened, sweating. "Miss, seriously, 1 minute? It's past the deadline." "I don't want it anymore," the woman said, crossing her arms. "I can't stand people who don't meet deadlines." "Oh, sure. Because your stomach has a built-in Swiss timer, right?" Jessica countered sarcastically. "Maybe I should have left my daughter alone on the street, run breathlessly, and run the red light to deliver your golden sushi. Poor people always have an excuse, right?" The woman retorted disdainfully. At that moment, Emily, still clinging to her mother's body, lifted her little face and said loudly, "Mom, this lady looks like a wicked witch from a cartoon." Jessica froze. The woman's eyes widened, and on the other side, leaning against the wall near the elevator, a tall man in a dark gray suit with a sharp gaze held back a laugh. Benjamin Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises, was just waiting for the elevator but ended up getting an unexpected spectacle. He coughed discreetly, as if asking permission to intervene. "Excuse me?" His voice was calm, cool, and elegant. "If you really don't want the order, I'll take it. I'm starving." The customer opened her mouth to protest, but Benjamin was already holding out a black card with an impatient gesture. "Can you tell me the price, Miss Jessica?" She handed over the bag, still in shock, glancing sideways at Emily, who whispered, "He looks like a dapper penguin." "I heard," Benjamin said, looking at the girl with a slight raise of his eyebrow. Then he looked at Jessica. "It seems you two have a knack for making an impact." Jessica gave an awkward smile. "And you look like you've never wasted a second of your life." "Almost never," he replied, already typing the password on the machine's display. As she finished the transaction, Benjamin noticed the deep circles under Jessica's eyes, the ripped jacket at the shoulder, and the way Emily snuggled into her chest, confident that she was safe there, even with the world at war outside. "It was only a minute," Jessica murmured, still indignant. "Just a minute. 1 minute can change everything," Benjamin said, accepting the bag and turning toward the elevator. "And a CEO can order delivery like any mortal," she teased. "Especially when the dinner event I'm supposed to be at is unbearable." Emily, still hugging her mother, gave a thumbs up. "Good choice, dapper penguin." Benjamin shook his head. But before he entered the elevator, something unexpected happened. He was about to step into the elevator when he heard a strange noise behind him. It was a dry, forced cough that cut through the air like an alarm. Emily had begun coughing uncontrollably, clinging to her mother's chest. What began as an innocent throat clearing quickly turned into something more serious. The girl gasped for air, but it seemed her lungs refused to cooperate. "Emily, Emily, my love, what's happening?" Jessica panicked, holding her daughter's little face in her hands. "Breathe with me, breathe slowly." But Emily couldn't. Her lips began to turn slightly blue, and she made a high-pitched, desperate gasp for air. Her tiny hands clung to her mother's jacket like anchors. "Oh my God, Emily." Jessica looked around desperately, but the child was getting more and more breathless. "Please, please don't do this to me." The customer who had refused the delivery was still at the door, but she took a few steps back, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Benjamin, who already had 1 foot inside the elevator, stopped completely. "Does she have asthma?" he asked, dropping the cooler bag on the floor and approaching. "No, I don't know. She's never had this before." Jessica was shaking, holding Emily in her arms as the girl struggled to breathe. "Emily, my aim, stay with me, okay?" Benjamin watched the scene for 2 seconds that felt like an eternity. The cold rationality that always guided him in business took over. He pulled out his cell phone and dialed quickly. "This is Benjamin Carter. I need an ambulance at Starlight Tower, apartment 3204. Child in severe respiratory distress now. Jessica looked at him with tears in her eyes. She's going to be okay, right? Please tell me she's going to be okay. Let's take her to the hospital now, Benjamin said, already taking the car keys out of his pocket. My car is in the garage. It's faster than waiting for the ambulance. But I don't know you. Jessica hesitated for a second, even with Emily panting in her arms. And I don't know you, Benjamin replied, pressing the elevator button harder. But your daughter needs help now. Emily made an even higher-pitched sound, and that was enough for Jessica to make her decision. She stepped into the elevator with Benjamin, holding her daughter tightly, whispering comforting words in her ear. Everything will be okay, my love. Mommy's here. This elegant penguin will help us, okay? During the descent, Benjamin called again. This time the hospital. This is Benjamin Carter. I'm taking a child with a respiratory crisis to City Hill Hospital. I want the best pediatric pulmonologist available now, and I want an emergency room prepared. Jessica stared at him, surprised by the authority in his voice. It was clear that Benjamin Carter was not just any man in a suit. In the garage, he opened the door of a shiny black Mercedes. Jessica climbed into the back seat with Emily, who was a little calmer but still breathing heavily. Hang in there, little warrior, Benjamin said, glancing in the rearview mirror as he drove precisely through the streets of Manhattan. You'll be fine soon. She doesn't like hospitals, Jessica murmured, stroking her daughter's hair. Nobody likes it, Benjamin replied, stopping at a red light. But sometimes it's the only place we can find the answers. 15 minutes later, they arrived at the hospital. Benjamin stopped the car at the emergency room entrance, and a medical team immediately appeared with a small stretcher. Dr. Thompson, pediatric pulmonologist, said a woman in a white coat, carefully picking Emily up. We'll take good care of her. Jessica tried to accompany the medical team but was stopped at the reception. Ma'am, I need some information first, said the attendant, a middle-aged woman with glasses perched on the bridge of her nose. Please, my daughter is in there, Jessica begged. I understand, but these are mandatory procedures. Child's name? Emily Wilson. Health insurance? Jessica swallowed hard. No, we don't have health insurance. Credit card as payment guarantee? I can't pay now, but I can pay in installments. I can work extra. I can. The attendant sighed. Ma'am, without some guarantee of payment, I can't authorize more advanced procedures. Jessica felt her world collapse. Please, she's just a child. I'll pay. I swear I will, but don't let her suffer because of money. Benjamin, who had parked his car and entered the hospital, overheard the conversation. He approached the counter with firm steps. All costs are on me, he said, placing the black card on the counter. I want the best treatments available, the best doctors, and I want them to do everything necessary. The attendant looked at the card, then at Benjamin. Mr. Carter, sure, no problem. I'll authorize all procedures immediately. Jessica's mouth dropped open. But why are you doing this? Benjamin avoided her gaze. Because it's the right thing to do. 2 hours later, Dr. Thompson walked out of the emergency room with a reassuring smile. Emily is fine, she announced. It was a bronchospasm, probably triggered by an allergy to something she inhaled. We gave her bronchodilators, and she's breathing normally now. It's common in children, and with the right medication, it shouldn't happen again. Jessica burst into tears of relief. Can I see her? Of course. She's asking for Mommy and Uncle Penguin. The doctor smiled. When Jessica entered the room, Emily was sitting on the bed, playing with a teddy bear someone had given her. Mommy, the little girl cried, stretching out her arms. My love. Jessica hugged her tightly. How are you feeling? Much better. The doctor said, I'm very brave. Emily smiled. And where's Uncle Penguin? He promised he'd visit me. Jessica looked around, but Benjamin was gone. At the front desk, the attendant handed over a folder of papers. All charges were paid by Mr. Carter. He left this card for you. Jessica picked up a sleek business card. Benjamin Carter, CEO Carter Enterprises. On the back was a handwritten note. Hope Emily gets well. BC. Where did he go? Jessica asked. He left about 20 minutes ago. He said he had an urgent meeting. Jessica left the hospital with a sleeping Emily in her arms and the card clutched in her free hand. They took a taxi home, but the whole ride, she couldn't stop thinking about the man who had saved her daughter without asking for anything in return. The next morning, after dropping Emily off at daycare, Jessica went straight to the address on the business card. The Carter Enterprises building was imposing. All glass and steel in the heart of the financial district. At the front desk, She explained that she needed to speak with Benjamin Carter. The receptionist, an elegant young woman, looked her up and down from her worn flats to her delivery uniform and smiled with forced politeness. "Mr. Carter is in a meeting. Can I help you with anything?" "It's personal," Jessica insisted. After 20 minutes of waiting, Benjamin appeared in the elevator, adjusting his tie. When he saw Jessica, he stopped for a second. Surprised, "Jessica, how is Emily?" "She's fine, thanks to you," Jessica said, standing up. "Listen, I came here to talk about the money." "What money?" Benjamin frowned. "The money you spent on the hospital. I'll give you every penny back. You can be sure of that. It might take a while, but I'll pay it back." Benjamin shook his head. "No need." "Yes, it is," Jessica insisted, pulling a crumpled notebook from her bag. "How much was it?" 2,000. 3,000? "I'll write it down and pay it back little by little." "Forget it," Benjamin said. Already heading back to the elevator, "Benjamin Carter," she shouted, causing some people at the reception desk to turn around. "I'm not a charity case. I work, I make ends meet, and I pay my bills." He stopped and turned around, his expression a mixture of surprise and admiration. "How much do you earn per month?" he asked. Jessica hesitated. "That's beside the point." "Yes, it is. If you really want to pay, I need to know how long it will take you to save up $5,300. Jessica's eyes widened. "5,000? Oh my God. Now, do you understand why I said to forget it?" "No." She stomped her foot. 5,000 or 50,000, it doesn't matter. I'll pay it. You can write my name down on your debtors list, but I'll pay every penny, Mr. Scrasting. Carter. Benjamin studied her for a long moment. There was something about Jessica Wilson that deeply intrigued him. Pride, determination, and almost irritating stubbornness, and an honesty he rarely saw in his business world. "Okay," he said finally. "You pay, but in your own time, in your own way." "Thank you." Jessica sighed in relief. "You won't regret it." "I'm sure not," Benjamin murmured, stepping into the elevator with a barely perceptible smile on his lips. 3 days later, Benjamin was in his 45th floor office, trying to concentrate on quarterly reports. When the door opened unceremoniously, William Carter stormed in, dapper and elegant, carrying a stack of gossip magazines and a brown leather briefcase. "Good morning, son," William said, tossing the magazines onto the polished mahogany table. "We need to talk." Benjamin sighed, recognizing the tone. Whenever his father started a conversation with "we need to talk," it meant William had hatched some plan that Benjamin definitely wouldn't like. "Dad, I'm busy. The merger with Thompson Corp needs my full attention." "Thompson can wait." William sat in the chair facing the desk, crossing his legs with calculated elegance. "Your personal life can't wait." Benjamin looked up from his papers, already anticipating where this conversation was going. "Let's not start that again." "Of course we will." William opened the first magazine, a New York gossip magazine. "Check out this article. Manhattan's most eligible bachelors. Your name is right there in 3rd place." "What an honor," Benjamin muttered sarcastically. "The problem, my dear son, is that you've been on this list for 5 years running." William turned the pages with impatient fingers. "That's not good for our corporate image. Investors like stability, family men, someone who demonstrates responsibility and maturity. I run a multi-million-dollar company at 32. Dad, I think I've demonstrated enough responsibility." William completely ignored the comment and opened the brown folder, pulling out a typed list on letterhead. "Here are the most suitable candidates for you. All from traditional families, all impeccably educated, all financially independent." Benjamin picked up the list and quickly scanned it. Familiar names, faces he'd seen at social events for years. Beautiful, elegant, perfect women, and completely dull. Elizabeth Ashford. William pointed to the first name. "You've dated her before. Excellent choice. Family owns luxury hotels, Harvard graduate, speaks 4 languages, and she has the personality of an iceberg," Benjamin added. "Not to mention, our breakup was complicated." Details. William waved away. "Adult relationships sometimes need second chances. And look here, Olivia Bennett, heiress to Bennett Industries, gorgeous, intelligent, and you have a lot in common. Like the fact that we both prefer our phones to each other's company." William slammed his hand on the table in frustration. "Benjamin, you're not taking this seriously. At 32, a man of your standing should be married with children, building a family legacy, not living like a perpetual bachelor featured in gossip magazines." What if I don't want to marry any of these women? Then I'll choose for you, William said with the coldness of a corporate ultimatum. I have a fundraiser next week. I'll invite 3 of these candidates. You choose one for a serious relationship, or I'll choose and arrange the engagement. Benjamin dropped the list on the table and leaned back in his chair in disbelief. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. The Carter family's reputation cannot be tarnished by your resistance to commitment. This is business, son. Strategic marriages have always been part of the corporate world. What medieval world is this, Dad? It's 2025, not 1824. William stood, putting away the magazines and briefcase with precise movements. The world hasn't changed as much as you think. Power, influence, and stability still go hand in hand, and a married Carter is worth much more on the market than a single Carter. Benjamin stared out the picture window, watching the frenetic activity of Manhattan below. Somewhere in that city, Jessica was probably delivering orders, carrying Emily in her arms, struggling to pay the bills. The difference between their 2 worlds was stark. What if I say I'd rather marry the local delivery girl? He said without taking his eyes off the window. The sentence came out as a provocation, a desperate attempt to irritate his father and end the conversation. William paused in the doorway, turning slowly. Instead of the outburst of indignation Benjamin expected, his father's face showed something far more dangerous. Genuine interest. Neighborhood delivery girl? William repeated with calculating curiosity. Are you referring to someone specific? Benjamin realized his mistake too late. It was a joke, Dad. A provocation. Interesting, William murmured, pulling a small notebook from his inside jacket pocket and making a note. Very interesting. Dad, stop. It was just a random comment. Of course it was. William smiled, but it wasn't a reassuring smile. It was the smile he wore when he closed especially lucrative deals. A delivery person. What a revolutionary concept. William Carter. I'm serious. Don't turn a silly joke into one of your crazy projects. Crazy project? William feigned defense. Son, I'm just expanding the possibilities. Maybe it's time to think outside the box. As you young executives like to say. Benjamin felt a chill run down his spine. He knew his father well enough to know when William was up to something, and in the last 32 years of his life, he had never seen anything good come of William Carter's schemes. Dad, whatever you're thinking, please don't do it. Don't worry. William opened the door, pausing only to glance over his shoulder. The benefit is, next Friday, wear your best tuxedo. And who knows, maybe we'll have some surprises on the menu. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Benjamin alone with a growing sense that he'd made a terrible mistake. He knew William too well to believe the reference to the neighborhood delivery girl would be forgotten. He picked up the phone and dialed his secretary. Laura, I need you to find out everything about next Friday's charity event. Guest list, vendors, everything. Of course, Mr. Carter. May I ask why you're concerned? Benjamin looked at the list of candidates still on his desk, then at the note William had made in his notebook. I have a feeling my father is planning something that will go very wrong for everyone involved. Meanwhile, 3 floors above, William Carter was in his private office, leafing through a phone book and smiling as if he had just discovered the solution to a very complex problem. Neighborhood delivery girl. He muttered to himself. Picking up the phone. What a brilliant idea, Benjamin. Absolutely brilliant. And with that, William began making some very specific calls, organizing what would undoubtedly be the most interesting event of the entire New York social season. The following Friday, Jessica Wilson stood in front of the cracked bathroom mirror in her small apartment, trying to fix her hair for the 5th time. Her black catering uniform was borrowed, and 2 sizes too big, but it was the best she could find at the last minute. Mommy, you look beautiful, Emily said, sitting on the bed, swinging her legs as she ate breakfast cereal. Thank you, love. Mom's just a little nervous. Jessica adjusted her bow tie for the 10th time. It's a very fancy event. Very important people. More important than you? Her daughter's innocent question made Jessica smile. Of course not, Princess. No one is more important than the 2 of us. An hour later, Jessica was in the kitchen of the Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom, receiving instructions from the supervisor, a serious woman named Patricia. This is a high society fundraiser, Patricia explained, adjusting Jessica's apron. Lots of millionaires, some celebrities, people who can make or break a catering company's reputation with one ill-timed comment. So, smile, be polite, and for God's sake, don't drop anything. Jessica nodded, her stomach churning. She desperately needed the extra money. Emily needed new allergy medication, and the rent was late. You'll serve the drinks during the cocktail hour, Patricia continued. Champagne, wine, and some non-alcoholic beverages. Keep the tray balanced and avoid engaging in long conversations with the guests. The main ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, enormous white flowers, tables decorated like movie sets. Jessica had never seen so much luxury in one place. Guests began arriving, women in designer gowns, men in perfectly tailored tuxedos, jewelry that probably cost more than her annual salary. First tray, Patricia said, handing over a silver tray with champagne flutes. Remember, smile and be invisible. Jessica took a deep breath and entered the room. The first few minutes were uneventful. She served drinks, received polite thanks, and managed to maintain her balance. She was beginning to feel confident when she spotted a familiar figure across the room. William Carter was talking to a group of people, gesturing animatedly, and next to him, Benjamin, Jessica murmured. Benjamin, almost dropping the tray. He was impeccably dressed in a black tuxedo, his hair perfectly combed, chatting with a stunning blonde woman in a red dress. For a moment, Jessica completely forgot where she was and what she was doing. All she could think about was how different he looked in that setting. No longer the man who had rushed Emily to the hospital, but the millionaire CEO he truly was. Excuse me, can you serve me? A sharp voice caught her attention. Jessica turned to see an older woman covered in diamonds looking at her impatiently. Of course. Of course. Jessica quickly approached, holding out the tray. Finally, you guys at work are getting slower and slower. The woman took a glass without even looking at Jessica. Sorry, ma'am, Jessica murmured, trying to maintain a professional smile. She was walking away when she heard someone call her name. Jessica? Jessica Wilson? She turned to see Benjamin approaching, a look of genuine surprise on his face. The blonde woman was right behind him, clearly curious. Benjamin? Jessica smiled, but immediately remembered where she was. I mean, good evening, sir. What are you doing here? He asked, completely ignoring the forced formality. Extra work, she explained, lifting the tray. Emily needs new meds, and, well, you know how it is. The blonde woman stepped closer, examining Jessica from head to toe with a calculating gaze. Benjamin, who is your friend? The question was loaded with insinuation. Isabella. This is Jessica Wilson, Benjamin introduced, clearly uncomfortable. Jessica. Isabella Reed. Ah, so you're the delivery girl. Isabella smiled. But it wasn't a friendly smile. Benjamin told me about the incident at the hospital. How dramatic. Jessica felt her cheeks heat up. It was a medical emergency, not a drama. Of course, Isabella nodded condescendingly. It must have been very convenient to have someone rich around at just the right time. The insinuation was clear, and Jessica felt anger rise in her chest. But before she could respond, Benjamin intervened. Isabella, that was unnecessary. Just looking at the facts. Isabella shrugged. Jessica took a deep breath, trying to maintain her professional composure. Excuse me, I need to continue serving. She turned quickly to walk away, but the combination of nervousness, anger, and the polished marble floor conspired against her. Her foot slipped, and she completely lost her balance. The tray flew through the air in slow motion, and 12 glasses of champagne went straight toward Benjamin Carter. The golden liquid soaked his impeccable white shirt, dripped from his expensive tuxedo, and formed a puddle at his feet. The entire room stopped. Conversation ceased. All eyes turned to the scene. Oh my God, Jessica screamed, running to Benjamin. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Benjamin stood there, completely soaked, blinking slowly as drops of champagne dripped from his hair. That's Dom Perignon champagne, Isabella said, horrified. Each bottle costs $800. I'll pay, Jessica said desperately, trying to dry Benjamin's shirt with the napkins from the tray. I work extra. I sell something, but I'll pay. Jessica stopped. Benjamin held her hands, which were shaking as she tried to clean up the mess. I'm fine. You're not okay. You're soaked in expensive champagne, and now everyone's staring, and I'm going to get fired. And breathe, Benjamin said calmly. It was an accident. It's the floor's fault, Jessica declared, pointing to the polished marble. Who makes floors so slippery? They're a public hazard. The floor has been like this for 40 years, said someone in the audience. Then it's been dangerous for 40 years, Jessica retorted. There should be a warning sign. Caution, waitress, killing floor. Some guests chuckled. Isabella snorted in indignation. This is a disaster, Isabella muttered. Benjamin, You need to change immediately. He needs a towel first, Jessica said. That's still trying to help. And maybe a hairdryer and a washing machine and a time machine to go back 5 minutes. Benjamin began to laugh, first softly, then louder, until he was genuinely laughing. Are you suggesting I use a time machine because of champagne? Well, if you can afford $800 champagne, maybe you can afford a time machine too, Jessica said, finally managing a smile. Impeccable logic, Benjamin agreed, still laughing. Across the room, William Carter watched the scene with a satisfied smile. He discreetly approached a social photographer covering the event. Make sure that photo appears in Monday's Society column, William muttered. CEO, drenched by mysterious waitress. It'll make a juicy headline. The photographer nodded and took a few discreet shots. Patricia, the supervisor, came running up, red with embarrassment. Mr. Carter, I'm terribly sorry. We're firing this employee immediately. That won't be necessary, William interrupted, still smiling. Accidents happen. Actually, it was quite refreshing. Meanwhile, Jessica finally managed to stop apologizing and looked around, realizing that half of New York's high society was watching the spectacle. I should disappear now, she muttered to Benjamin. Probably, he agreed, but I admit that was the most interesting part of the evening. At least when I mess things up, I mess them up with style. Jessica sighed. Definitely in style. Benjamin smiled. And, Jessica, about the hospital debt. Consider it paid off. What? No, I said I would pay, and I think you've paid enough. He gestured to his soaked clothes. We're even. And with that, Benjamin walked away to change, leaving Jessica in the middle of the room, still holding the empty tray and realizing that her life had just gotten infinitely more complicated. 20 minutes after the champagne incident, Jessica was in the hotel kitchen, trying to compose herself. Patricia had been surprisingly understanding, especially after William Carter personally assured her there would be no consequences. Still, Jessica felt mortified. I can't believe I soaked the man who saved my daughter, she muttered to herself, washing her hands in the kitchen sink. Emily's going to laugh at me for a whole week. Actually, I think it was quite memorable. Jessica turned quickly and found William Carter standing in the kitchen doorway, impeccably dressed in his tuxedo with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Carter, she straightened immediately. I'm sorry about what happened to your son. I didn't mean to. Relax, my dear. William waved, stepping closer. You can call me William, and as for the incident, it was exactly what I expected. Jessica frowned. Did you expect that? Have a seat. William gestured to a chair next to the small table where the employees took their breaks. I need to talk to you. Coffee? Well, Jessica hesitated but eventually sat down. Okay. William poured 2 cups of coffee from the coffee maker and sat in the chair opposite. For a moment, he studied her with the intensity of someone considering an investment. I remember you, he said finally. A few days ago at the Carter Enterprises reception desk, insisting on paying a hospital bill. Jessica blushed. I wasn't fighting. I was insisting on paying $5,300 on a delivery woman's salary. William smiled. Admirable. Stubborn, but admirable. I always pay my debts, Jessica said, lifting her chin proudly. I know. That's why I'm here. William sipped his coffee, apparently savoring the suspense. Jessica began to feel like a mouse being watched by a very intelligent cat. Mr. William, I don't understand. Why are you talking to me? Because I have a proposal for you. A proposal that can solve all your financial problems. Jessica nearly spat out her coffee. What kind of proposal? William leaned forward, his expression as if he were about to close the deal of the century. I want you to pretend to be my son's girlfriend. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica blinked several times, making sure she'd heard correctly. Sorry, I think I misunderstood. Did you say fake girlfriend? At public events, social dinners, strategic appearances, William explained as if he were discussing stock market shares. Nothing too complicated. Just convincing New York society that my son has finally found someone special. Jessica put the cup down so hard that the coffee spilled. Are you crazy? I'm being practical, William corrected. Benjamin needs to get married. I need a daughter-in-law who will generate media interest and change his image as a confirmed bachelor. You need money. It's a win-win situation. I can't pretend to date your son, Jessica stammered. First, because it's a lie. Second, because he looks like a penguin in a sloppy suit. Third, because you have principles, William added. That's exactly why you're perfect. Jessica shook her head vigorously. No, that's crazy. You need to find someone else. An actress. Maybe someone who can fake it. The actresses I know are very obvious, William said, pulling an envelope from his inside jacket pocket. You, on the other hand, are authentic, real, exactly what Benjamin needs to break his image as a cold, calculating man. He's not cold, Jessica said without thinking. I mean, he saved Emily. He paid her medical bills. He was kind. See? You already see his human side. William smiled, satisfied. That's exactly what I need the audience to see. William placed the envelope on the table. Emily's tuition paid for the next 5 years. Private school, the best in the area, plus $10,000 per public appearance, and a $50,000 bonus when the charade is no longer necessary. Jessica stared at the envelope as if it were a poisonous snake. Went. It's a reasonable amount for the service provided, but it's a lie, she protested. It's deceiving everyone. It's marketing, William corrected. And marketing is the art of presenting reality in the best possible way. Jessica took the envelope with trembling hands. There was a preliminary contract and a check with more zeros than she had ever seen combined. I can't accept this, she said. But her voice didn't sound very convincing. Think about Emily, William said softly. Private school means better opportunities, better teachers, a better future. It means you'll never have to worry about whether you can afford her medicine again. Jessica's hands trembled. 5 years of school fees. A lifetime's worth of food deliveries. What if Benjamin doesn't agree? Leave Benjamin to me, William said confidently. My son is stubborn, but he's not stupid. He'll understand that this is good for everyone. Dating your son, Jessica muttered, still trying to process the situation, pretending to be in love with a penguin in a clunky suit who probably doesn't even know how to change a light bulb. He knows how to change light bulbs, a cold voice said from the kitchen doorway. Jessica and William turned at the same time. Benjamin stood in the doorway, still wearing a spare shirt someone had lent him, his hair slightly damp from champagne, and an expression that was a mix of shock and indignation. Benjamin, William stood up, smiling as if nothing had happened. I'm glad you're here. I heard it all, Benjamin interrupted, striding into the kitchen. From the proposal to solve financial problems part to the penguin in a sloppy suit part, Jessica sank into her chair, embarrassed. Benjamin. Dad, what the hell do you think you're doing? Benjamin ignored Jessica and looked directly at William. I'm solving 2 problems at once, William replied calmly. You need a girlfriend. She needs money. Simple math. I don't need a fake girlfriend. Yes, you do, William insisted. And she needs that money. Look at her, Benjamin. Really look. When was the last time you saw someone work so hard just to keep their daughter healthy? Benjamin looked at Jessica, who was blushing with embarrassment, still holding the envelope. That's not fair to either of us, he said more softly. Life isn't fair, William retorted, but sometimes we can create arrangements that work for everyone. Jessica finally found her voice. I didn't say I accepted, but you'll accept, William said with absolute certainty, because you're a responsible mother, and this is the best opportunity Emily will ever have. The silence stretched for long seconds. Jessica stared at the envelope. Benjamin stared at her, and William looked at them both with growing satisfaction. Verbal contract done, William announced suddenly, clapping his hands once. Jessica, you can start tomorrow. Dinner at Le Bernardin. Wheat. Benjamin will pick you up. Dad, you can't just... I can, and I just did. William interrupted. Jessica, I need your address for the driver. Jessica stammered, completely overwhelmed. 47th Street, apartment 3B, she said before she could stop herself. Perfect. William smiled triumphantly. Benjamin, wear something smart casual. Jessica, there's a boutique on Madison Avenue that would love to help you choose something suitable. I'll pick up the bill. Wait a minute. Jessica stood up abruptly, but William was already leaving the kitchen, waving over his shoulder. See you tomorrow, kids. It'll be the start of something wonderful. And with that, he disappeared, leaving Benjamin and Jessica alone in the kitchen, looking at each other with expressions of utter shock. I think your father just manipulated us, Jessica said finally. My father manipulates everything, Benjamin sighed. The question is, are you really going to do it? Jessica looked at the envelope in her hands, thought about Emily, thought about private school, thought about never having to worry about money for medicine again. I think so, she whispered. God help me, but I think so. The following Saturday at 7:30 inches the evening, Jessica stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting for the 10th time, the navy blue dress she'd picked out at the Madison Avenue boutique. The saleswoman had insisted the color brought out her eyes. But all Jessica could think was that the dress cost more than 3 months' rent. "Mommy, you look so pretty," Emily said from her bed, where she was coloring in a book. "You look like a real princess." "Thanks, love." Jessica smiled nervously. "Remember what Mom explained to you? I'm having dinner with Uncle Penguin for work, and you're going to pretend to be a couple?" Emily asked with the curiosity typical of a 5-year-old. "Yeah, it's a really complicated adult thing," Jessica sighed. "But just pretend, okay? Like when you play house." "Okay, but you like him, right, Mom?" The question caught Jessica off guard. "Aye, he's a good person, Emily. He helped us when you were sick." "Then maybe you don't have to pretend," Emily said with the simple wisdom of children. Before Jessica could respond, the doorbell rang. She looked out the window and saw a sleek black car parked in front of the building. "He's here," she murmured, feeling her stomach churn. 15 minutes later, Jessica sat in the leather seat of Benjamin's Mercedes, trying not to look as nervous as she felt. He was impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit, driving with the same precision he handled everything else in life. "Are you okay?" he asked, glancing at her. "You look tense." "I'm fine," Jessica lied. "Just trying to remember which fork to use for each dish. Or is it a spoon? Do you even have a spoon at a fancy dinner?" Benjamin couldn't hide a smile. "Relax. It's just dinner. Just dinner," she repeated. "With people who probably spend on one meal what I make in a month. No pressure at all." "Jessica, you doused these same people with champagne a few days ago, and they laughed. I think you'll do just fine." Le Bernardin was even more intimidating than Jessica had imagined. The restaurant exuded understated elegance with soft lighting, minimalist decor, and a reverent silence that only very expensive establishments can maintain. The maitre d' welcomed them as if Benjamin were royalty. "Mr. Carter, it's a pleasure to have you with us again. Your table is ready." They were shown to a table near the window, where another couple was already waiting. Michael Thompson, Benjamin's business partner, and his wife, Eleanor, an elegant woman in her 50s, Benjamin. Michael stood up to greet him. "And this must be the famous Jessica we've heard so much about." Jessica extended her hand, trying to smile naturally. "Nice to meet you." "The pleasure is ours," Eleanor said, assessing Jessica from head to toe with an analytical gaze. "William told us that you two met in a rather unique way." "She doused me in champagne," Benjamin said, pulling out Jessica's chair. "It was unforgettable." "How romantic." Eleanor laughed. "Tell us, how did this romance begin?" Jessica felt panic rise in her throat. They hadn't agreed on a story. "Well, it was love at first sight." Benjamin interjected softly. "Jessica won me over with her spontaneity, and Benjamin won me over by being kind when I needed it most," Jessica added, grateful for the help. The waiter appeared with menus in French and English. Jessica looked at the options and felt her brain spinning. She couldn't even pronounce half the dishes. "What do you recommend?" Eleanor asked. "The lobster is exceptional," Michael suggested. "Lobster?" Jessica said, trying to sound enthusiastic. "I love lobster. It's like a polite scorpion that decided to live in the sea." Eleanor blinked in surprise. Michael laughed. "Polite scorpion?" Eleanor repeated. "Well, think about the shape," Jessica gestured, getting into character. "They both have those big claws and long tails, and they look like they're going to attack you. But the lobster wears a natural tuxedo and frequents fancy restaurants." Michael laughed so hard, he had to wipe his eyes. "I never thought of that. They really are elegant, distant relatives." Benjamin watched, fascinated. Jessica was clearly out of her comfort zone. But there was something captivating about the way she turned nervousness into humor. When the cutlery was brought, Jessica looked at the collection of forks, knives, and spoons with a lost expression. "Why do we need 3 forks?" she whispered to Benjamin. "I only have 2 hands. Use them from the outside in," he whispered back. "What if I eat from the inside out? Will I get arrested?" "Probably deported," Benjamin joked. Eleanor, who had heard the whisper, smiled. "Jessica, have you ever traveled abroad?" Jessica swallowed. "Oh yes, I travel a lot." "How wonderful. Where was your last trip?" "France," Jessica said quickly. "Paris. I loved the Eiffel Tower. So tall. And what else did you visit?" Jessica panicked completely. "The Louvre with the Mona Lisa, which, by the way, is much smaller than it looks on TV. And she has an expression like she just heard an inside joke." "Inside joke?" Michael asked, intrigued. You know, those jokes only she understands. Like Leonardo da Vinci whispered something funny while painting, and she looked like she was holding back a laugh. Eleanor laughed. What an interesting interpretation. And what else did you do in Paris? I ate croissants, Jessica said, gaining confidence. Lots of croissants. Actually, I discovered that croissants are just bread that's been to the gym and gotten all muscular and golden. The whole table was laughing now. Benjamin realized that, without realizing it, Jessica had completely won over Michael and Eleanor with her unique way of seeing the world. And you, Benjamin? Eleanor asked. How has it been dating someone so refreshing? I never know what to expect. Benjamin answered, honestly, Jessica sees things I would never notice, asks questions I would never ask. It's educational. And challenging, Michael suggested. Mostly challenging, Benjamin agreed, looking at Jessica, who was trying to figure out how to hold the lobster fork. Over dessert, Eleanor discussed an art exhibition, and Jessica, relaxed by the success of the conversation, invented a completely absurd analysis about modern art being the revenge of misunderstood brushes against arrogant canvases. You two make an interesting couple, Eleanor said at the end of the evening. Complimentary. Thank you, Jessica smiled, feeling genuinely successful. When they left the restaurant, a light rain had begun to fall. Benjamin opened a small umbrella that barely covered them both. Sorry, I didn't expect rain, he said, trying to protect Jessica. It's okay. I like rain, she replied. Walking closer to him, they were almost to the car when Jessica stepped into a puddle deeper than expected. Her foot slipped, and she lost her balance completely. Benjamin reacted instinctively, dropping the umbrella and reaching out to catch her. Jessica fell against his chest, her hands resting on his shoulders, their faces inches apart. For a moment that felt like an eternity, they stood like that, staring into each other's eyes, the rain falling softly around them. Jessica could see the raindrops on his eyelashes. I'm sorry, she whispered without pulling away. It wasn't your fault, he replied, also whispering, without letting go of her. The rain picked up, drenching them both, but neither moved. There was something about the moment, the closeness, the vulnerability, the way his eyes looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time, that made Jessica completely forget it was all just pretend. We should get in the car, she said finally. We should, he agreed, but still didn't let go of her. When they finally separated and got into the car, they were both wet and quiet, as if something important had happened, but neither of them knew exactly what. The night was successful, Benjamin said, turning on the heater. Yes, Jessica agreed. Looking out the window, successful, but they both knew something had changed in those few seconds in the rain, and neither of them was prepared to admit what it was. The following Wednesday, Jessica was at the apartment, trying to explain to Emily why Mom needed to go out again for work, when the phone rang. Hello, she answered, balancing the phone between her shoulder and ear as she prepared Emily's dinner. Jessica, it's Benjamin. Change of plans for tonight. What kind of change? She asked, feeling a twinge of anxiety. Benefit gala at the Museum of Modern Art. Black tie required. My father insisted it would be an excellent exposure opportunity. Jessica sighed. More important people who will judge me? Probably, Benjamin admitted. But you did so well at Le Bernardin that I'm sure you'll survive another night. What inspiring confidence, she murmured. What time? 7:30. And, Jessica, wear the black dress the boutique set aside. It's going to be a more formal evening. 2 hours later, Jessica stood in the bathroom mirror, trying to master a red lipstick that seemed to have a life of its own. Her black dress was elegant without being flashy, and she had managed to tame her hair into a bun that looked almost professional. Mommy looks beautiful, Emily declared from the bathroom doorway. But why are you nervous again? Because Mommy is still learning to pretend she belongs in the world of elegant penguins, Jessica explained, applying lipstick for the third time. You don't have to pretend, Emily said seriously. You're the best mom in the world. That's more important than anything. Jessica bent down and hugged her daughter. When did you become so wise, little one? I learned from you, Emily smiled. The Museum of Modern Art was transformed into a movie set. Golden lights, exotic flowers, and tables decorated with crystals that reflected like stars. The guests looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine, all perfectly dressed and speaking in low, polite tones. Benjamin met her at the entrance, impeccably dressed in a black tuxedo. You look beautiful, he said, offering his arm. Thank you. Jessica smiled, trying to ignore how her heart raced at the compliment. You also look, well, You always look elegant." They walked through the main hall, where Benjamin greeted acquaintances and introduced Jessica as his girlfriend. She was just beginning to feel more comfortable when a familiar voice cut through the air. "Benjamin Carter. What a wonderful surprise." They turned to see Isabella Reed approaching like a hurricane in red silk. Her dress was a work of art in itself, perfectly cut, paired with jewelry that probably cost more than a car. She looked absolutely stunning, and she knew it. "Isabella," Benjamin said, his voice growing noticeably colder, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Oh dear. You know I never miss a good charity." Isabella smiled, but her eyes were fixed on Jessica like a predator sizing up prey. "And this must be your new friend, Jessica Wilson." Jessica held out her hand, trying to maintain the confident posture she had learned. Isabella shook her hand with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Isabella Reed. What an interesting dress. Very affordable." The comment was disguised as a compliment, but the intention was clear. Jessica felt her cheeks heat up, but kept her smile. "Thank you. I chose something that wouldn't draw too much attention. I don't like being vulgar." Isabella blinked, catching the subtle hint. "Of course. And tell me, Jessica, what do you do for a living besides dating?" "Obviously, I work in logistics and deliveries," Jessica answered honestly. "It's honest work. I help people get what they need." "How noble," Isabella said with evident condescension. "It must be challenging for someone of your background to adapt to this environment." Jessica felt her irritation rise but managed to keep her cool. "Actually, it's been fascinating. It's amazing how some people can be so elegant on the outside and so small on the inside." Some nearby guests seemed to pick up on the tension and approached discreetly, curious. "Oh, you're direct," Isabella laughed, but it didn't sound amused. "I imagine it's hard to understand the subtleties of our society when you don't grow up in it." "You're right," Jessica agreed happily. "In my world, people know how to use coarse salt to ward off bad energy. Much more effective than complicated social codes." A nearby gentleman chuckled. A woman muttered something about how refreshing. Isabella realized she was losing her audience. "Coarse salt." Isabella tried to sound amused. "How folkloric. It's an old but reliable method," Jessica continued. "As if giving a lesson, you take the salt, make a circle around the negative energy, and voila. The person is contained within their own poison." Now, several people were laughing openly. Benjamin watched the scene with growing fascination. Impressed by Jessica's ability to turn an attack into humorous self-defense. "Benjamin," Isabella turned to him, trying to regain control of the situation. "Remember when we went to that charity auction in Boston? You bought that wonderful Monet painting?" "I remember," Benjamin replied dryly. "And the trip to the Hamptons on the Wellington's yacht," Isabella continued, clearly trying to reminisce about better times. "Those were such sophisticated times." "They were," Benjamin agreed, but he didn't sound nostalgic. Jessica watched the exchange and decided it was time to strike back. "What beautiful memories. Benjamin told me you were very compatible. You both loved things expensive and empty." Isabella's mouth fell open in shock. "Excuse me? Oh, sorry if I worded it poorly," Jessica said with mock innocence. "I meant expensive things and, how do you say, no real emotional substance." Benjamin explained to me how difficult it was to find genuine connection in that kind of relationship. Benjamin coughed, clearly trying to hide a smile. He definitely hadn't said it, but he was impressed by Jessica's creativity. "I don't think Benjamin would say something like that," Isabella said, her voice slightly high-pitched. "Oh, but he did," Jessica insisted. "It was quite touching, actually. He talked about how empty he felt, like he was playing a role, pretending to be someone he wasn't. He said he never wanted to feel that way again." The surrounding crowd was now clearly paying attention. Isabella realized she had completely lost control of the situation. "Well," Isabella said, forcing a smile, "I guess different people have different perspectives on relationships." "Exactly," Jessica agreed warmly. "For example, I believe true love has nothing to do with how much money you have or what family you come from. It's about who's willing to hold your hand when you're scared or who carries your daughter to the hospital without a second thought." Isabella's eyes glinted with mischief. "Your daughter?" "Benjamin didn't mention you have a daughter. Emily is 5 years old," Jessica said proudly. "She's the most important person in my life." "What a responsibility for a single man," Isabella commented, looking at Benjamin. "Some men aren't ready for ready-made families." "The right men are," Benjamin said firmly, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice Emily is an incredible child. Any man would be lucky to be a part of her life. Isabella realized she had definitely lost. She tried a few more attacks, but Jessica deflected each one with humor and wit, always managing to make the audience laugh at Isabella's expense. Finally, Isabella gave up. Well, it was enlightening meeting you, Jessica. I'm sure we will learn a lot from each other. I'm sure. Jessica smiled sweetly, especially about the difference between royal class and just money. Isabella stormed off in red, leaving a trail of embarrassment and some muted applause. Impressive, murmured the man who had laughed first. I certainly didn't expect that. The girl has guts, his wife commented. When they were alone, Benjamin looked at Jessica with genuine admiration. Where did you learn to do that? Do what? She asked, feigning innocence, destroying someone with politeness and humor. You were brilliant. Jessica smiled. I learned it defending Emily on the playground at school. Mean mothers are training for anything. Benjamin laughed, realizing he had completely underestimated the woman beside him. Jessica wasn't just authentic and funny. She was smart, brave, and capable of holding her own in any, even the most hostile territory. And that appealed to him far more than he was prepared to admit. It was almost midnight when Benjamin and Jessica left the Museum of Modern Art. The event had gone on longer than planned, mainly because Jessica had become something of an instant celebrity after her confrontation with Isabella. Several people approached to chat, curious about the woman who had managed to leave Isabella Reed speechless. You were the talk of the night, Benjamin commented, as they walked toward the car. Half the people asked me where I found you. And what did you say? Jessica asked, adjusting the scarf she'd borrowed from the event organizer. That you found me, he replied, opening the passenger door for her. Technically, that's true, Jessica laughed, drenching you in champagne. How romantic. The best relationships start with disasters, Benjamin said. Starting the car, they were pulling out of the parking lot when Jessica saw something that made her stop laughing immediately. Benjamin, stop the car. What? He looked around, confused. Over there, on the sidewalk, Jessica pointed to a hunched figure near a park bench. That lady is feeling sick. Benjamin looked and saw an elderly woman, probably in her 70s, sitting on the bench with her head in her hands. Even from a distance, he could tell something was wrong. Jessica, it's almost midnight. It could be dangerous. She needs help, Jessica said, already opening the car door. I'm not going to leave an elderly woman alone on the street feeling bad. Jessica, wait. Benjamin tried to protest, but she had already gotten out of the car. He sighed, parked quickly, and followed her. Jessica was already kneeling beside the woman, speaking in a low, soothing voice. Hello, ma'am. My name is Jessica. Are you feeling okay? The woman raised her head. She was pale with beads of sweat on her forehead, and her hands were visibly shaking. I think I have a heart problem, she said weakly. Chest pain, shortness of breath. I ran out of medicine today, and I couldn't get to the pharmacy. Benjamin approached, concerned. Ma'am, we need to get you to the hospital. I don't have money for the hospital, the woman murmured. I've already spent it all on this month's medicine. Jessica looked at Benjamin, who was already taking his cell phone out of his pocket. Don't worry about money, Benjamin said, dialing. I'll call an ambulance. No, please, the lady protested weakly. An ambulance is too expensive. Ma'am, what's your name? Jessica asked softly. Margaret. Margaret Sullivan. Margaret, look at me. Jessica took her hands. My friend here is very rich and very stubborn. If he says he'll pay, he will. And do you know why? Margaret shook her head weakly. Because he has a good heart hidden under that expensive suit. Jessica smiled. Besides, hospitals give free dessert to anyone who smiles. It's a secret rule they don't tell anyone. Margaret managed a weak smile. Free dessert? You bet. Jessica nodded solemnly. Jell-O, pudding, sometimes even ice cream, but only for patients who arrive smiling. Benjamin, who was speaking to the emergency room operator, stopped to look at Jessica in disbelief. She was comforting a woman with a heart condition with jokes about hospital dessert. The ambulance will take 20 minutes, Benjamin announced, putting away his phone. I think we'd better take her straight away. I don't want to be a bother, Margaret protested. Miss Margaret, Jessica said, helping her to her feet. The only thing that's going to give me trouble is knowing that I left you here feeling unwell. Now, let's go. I'm curious to see if that dessert story is true. Benjamin gently picked up Margaret, surprising himself with how naturally it felt. She was lighter than he'd expected, and he suddenly understood why Jessica hadn't hesitated to help. You're very strong, Margaret commented, relaxing in his arms. And very elegant, Jessica added, walking beside them. Miss Margaret, do you have children? 3 children, but they all live far away. Margaret sighed. New York has become too expensive for them. So today, you gained 2 temporary children, Jessica declared. The elegant penguin here, and I will take care of you until you feel better. Elegant penguin? Margaret laughed weakly. That's what I call him, Jessica whispered conspiratorially. Always in a suit, always serious. But deep down he's a sweetheart. Benjamin sighed but couldn't help but smile. On the way to the car, Jessica kept Margaret distracted with conversation about cake recipes, childhood stories, and theories about why doctors always wear cold stethoscopes. It's to see if the patient still has reflexes, Jessica explained. If you jump when they put that cold thing on your chest, it's a sign that you're alive and reactive. That makes sense, Margaret agreed, looking more animated. Jessica, Benjamin murmured. That's not true. Are you sure? She asked, blinking innocently. I bet you've never asked a doctor. At the hospital, Margaret was immediately seen by the medical staff. Benjamin handled all the paperwork and payments, while Jessica stayed in the waiting room, promising Margaret she would be there when she left. You don't have to stay, Benjamin said, sitting beside her in the uncomfortable emergency room chairs. Of course I do. Jessica retorted, I promised we'd take care of her. And besides, I still haven't figured out if the dessert story is true. 2 hours later, the doctor came out with good news. Margaret had had a hypertensive crisis, but was stable. She would require regular medication and monitoring, but there was no permanent damage. Can I see her? Jessica asked. Of course. She's asking about you. Margaret sat up in the hospital bed, looking much better. There was color in her cheeks again, and she was smiling. My guardian angels, she said when she saw them enter. How are you feeling? Benjamin asked. Much better. And I found out you were right about dessert, Margaret said to Jessica. The nurse brought chocolate pudding. She said it was for special patients who arrive with loving companions. Jessica looked at Benjamin with a triumphant smile. I told you there was free dessert. That was lucky, Benjamin muttered. Or maybe the best things happen when you act from the heart, Jessica retorted. The doctor explained that Margaret would need to be kept under observation until morning, and that they had contacted one of her sons, who would be coming from Boston to pick her up. I don't know how to thank you, Margaret said, holding their hands. You saved me. We just did what any decent person would do, Jessica said. Not every decent person would have stopped, Margaret observed wisely. You make a good couple. You look out for each other, and for others too. In the car on the way home, Benjamin was quiet, thoughtful. Are you okay? Jessica asked. I'm thinking, he replied. When you saw Margaret on the street, I thought of safety, of time, of convenience. You only thought of helping. And what's the problem with that? It's okay, Benjamin said slowly. It's just, I don't know when I stopped acting on humanitarian instinct. When I started calculating everything. Jessica watched him drive, noticing the tension in his shoulders. Maybe you just forgot that you still have that person inside you. The same one who carried Emily to the hospital without a second thought. Maybe, he murmured. Benjamin, thank you for today. For stopping the car. For carrying Margaret. For paying for everything without question. You were incredible. Benjamin glanced at her and smiled. Thank you for reminding me of who I used to be. When they arrived at Jessica's apartment, she hesitated before getting out of the car. By the way, she said, opening the door, Margaret was right about one thing. We really take good care of each other. And with that, she walked into the building, leaving Benjamin alone in the car, realizing that he was smiling more lately than he had in years. The following Monday, Jessica was at JFK Airport, nervously glancing at the flight board, while clutching a small suitcase borrowed from her neighbor. Benjamin had explained that they had a business meeting to attend in Boston. Something about impressing investors with their romantic stability. I've never flown, she admitted as Benjamin approached with coffee for them both. Really? He looked genuinely surprised. Food deliveries don't require much air travel, she joked. Accepting the coffee, Emily's more excited than I am. She said, I'll get to see the clouds in person. Benjamin smiled. And how is she dealing with your absence? Mrs. Garcia will take care of her. They'll make cookies and watch cartoons. They'll probably have more fun without me. The loudspeaker announcement interrupted them. Flight 347 to Boston canceled due to severe weather conditions. No way, Benjamin muttered, checking his phone. Snowstorm. All flights to Boston canceled until tomorrow. Jessica looked out the window and saw the first flakes beginning to fall. At least Emily will be happy. She loves snow. The meeting is tomorrow morning, Benjamin said, calculating. We'll have to drive. I know an inn along the way where we can spend the night. 3 hours later, they were on the road, watching the snow fall ever heavier. The inn Benjamin had chosen was small and cozy, with a roaring fireplace and rustic decor reminiscent of a grandmother's house. "We only have one room available." The receptionist apologized. The storm brought a lot of unexpected travelers. Jessica and Benjamin looked at each other, embarrassed. "Does the room have 2 beds?" Benjamin asked. "A king-size bed, but the sofa is very comfortable." The woman smiled. "And the fireplace works perfectly." In the bedroom, Jessica immediately placed her suitcase on the sofa. "I'll stay here. You pay the bills. You get the bed." "Jessica, I'm not letting you sleep on the couch. And I'm not sleeping in the same bed as you," she retorted. "No matter how harmlessly elegant a penguin you are." Benjamin was about to argue when Jessica's phone rang. It was Emily on a video call. "Mommy, it's snowing here too." Emily appeared on the screen, excited. "Mrs. Garcia says you're stuck in the snow with Uncle Penguin." "Hi, love." Jessica smiled, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I'm fine. Uncle Penguin is taking care of me." "Hi, Emily." Benjamin waved, sitting down next to Jessica to appear on screen. "Are you guys in a hotel?" Emily asked curiously. "At an inn," Jessica explained. "Because of the snow. How fun." Emily clapped her hands. "You can play games." "Mrs. Garcia taught us a new game. 20 questions." 20 questions? Benjamin asked. "It's like this. One person thinks of something, and the other asks 20 questions to guess it." Emily explained excitedly. "You two should play. Mrs. Garcia said it's good for getting to know people." Jessica laughed. "Emily, I don't think Uncle Penguin is much of a gamer." "I do," Benjamin protested, surprising himself. "It sounds interesting." "Really?" Jessica looked at him in surprise. "Mrs. Garcia, they're going to play." Emily shouted to someone off screen. "Mommy, you have to find out what his favorite food is." After saying goodbye to Emily, they were alone in the room with the snow falling heavily outside and the fireplace crackling cozily. "So," Benjamin said, taking off his jacket and sitting in the armchair near the fireplace, 20 questions. "Do you want to find out my favorite food?" "Okay." Jessica accepted the challenge, sitting on the sofa across from him. "Is it sweet?" "No." "Is it salty?" "Yes." "Is it expensive?" Benjamin hesitated. "It depends on where you buy it." "That counts as yes." Jessica decided. "Do you eat it with a fork?" "Sometimes." Vague answer. She protested. "Is it pizza?" "No." "And that was your 5th question. Hot dog? Hamburger?" "It's getting hot." Benjamin smiled. "Cheeseburger?" "Very hot." "McDonald's double bacon cheeseburger," Jessica shouted. Benjamin laughed, genuinely surprised at himself. "How did you guess?" "Seriously." Jessica gasped. "The millionaire CEO loves fast food." "I love it," he admitted, sounding almost embarrassed. "Especially at 2:00 the morning when I'm working late. There's a 24-hour delivery franchise near the office." "That's humanly normal," Jessica said, smiling. "Your turn. Discover my greatest fear." The questions continued, interspersed with laughter and unexpected revelations. Benjamin discovered that Jessica was afraid of elevators, which is why she always took the stairs, that she dreamed of being an art teacher, and that she once tried to cut her own hair and ended up bald on one side. Jessica discovered that Benjamin played the piano in secret, that he had cried watching a Disney movie with his niece, and that his biggest insecurity was not knowing if people liked him for who he was or for what he had. "That's sad," Jessica said softly. "It's realistic," Benjamin corrected. "What's all that money for if it makes you question whether people are genuine?" "Good question," he murmured. Around 10 at night, Benjamin's stomach growled loudly. "Hungry?" Jessica asked. "The inn's restaurant closed at 9. Let's see if they have a guest kitchen," Jessica suggested. The kitchen was small but well equipped. Jessica found pancake ingredients and decided to make a midnight supper. "Can you cook?" Benjamin asked, sitting at the counter. "Of course. I'm a single mom," she laughed. "Pancakes are a Wilson House specialty. Can I help?" "Do you know how to cook?" "Theoretically," Benjamin admitted. "What does theoretically mean?" "It means I know the basics, but I've never really practiced much." Jessica laughed. "Okay, you can be my assistant." Benjamin mixed the batter while Jessica prepared the pan. Everything was going well until he decided to flip a pancake in midair like he'd seen in movies. The pancake flew high, spun gracefully, and landed right on the stove next to the frying pan. "Benjamin!" Jessica yelled, trying to get the dough off the hot burner. The dish towel caught fire when she tried to clean up the mess. "Fire!" Benjamin shouted, grabbing a glass of water. "Don't splash it," Jessica shouted back, blowing on the small flames. Within seconds, the kitchen was filled with smoke. The fire alarm went off, and they were both covered in flour and giggling like teenagers. "You almost burned down the inn," Jessica said, still laughing when they finally managed to clean everything up. "Me? You're the one who let the cloth catch fire, because you threw pancakes on the stove." "It was an artistic accident," Benjamin defended. Brushing flour from her hair, they stood there like that, him brushing flour from her hair. Both of them still laughing when they realized how close they were. "Maybe we should order pizza," Benjamin whispered. "Maybe," Jessica agreed without moving away. That night, Benjamin slept on the couch, insisting it was comfortable, but for the first time in years, he didn't dream of spreadsheets or meetings. He dreamed of laughter, flying pancakes, and a woman who made him feel normal. And Jessica, lying in the too-big bed, smiled in the dark, realizing she was dangerously close to forgetting it was all just pretend. Back in New York the following Thursday, Jessica was feeling strangely nostalgic. The trip had been a success. The meeting went well, and she and Benjamin seemed to have found a comfortable rhythm in the charade of their relationship. She even began to forget it was all pretense. She was organizing Emily's school clothes when her cell phone rang. It was Patricia from the catering company. "Jessica, have you seen the news today?" "What news?" Jessica frowned, turning on the TV. "Look for the local gossip channel. You'll want to sit down for this." With a bad feeling, Jessica found the channel. The host, a blonde woman with a predatory smile, was discussing high society scandals, and now, a story that's shaking Manhattan, the host said. "Exclusive photos show that CEO Benjamin Carter's new girlfriend may not be as innocent as she seems." The screen showed a photo of Jessica entering an expensive store, followed by another of her leaving with several bags, then an image of her in a luxurious beauty salon. Sources close to her reveal that Jessica Wilson, from a humble background, has been spending thousands of dollars on shopping sprees since she began dating millionaire Carter. The host continued, "The question remains, true love or financial gain?" Jessica felt her stomach sink. These purchases had been organized by William. Part of the costume needed for the events, she hadn't even picked out half of the things. The phone rang again. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello, Jessica Wilson. This is the Manhattan Tribune. We'd like to ask you a few questions about your relationship with Benjamin Carter." She hung up immediately, but the phone rang again and again. "Mommy, why are people screaming down there?" Emily asked from the window. Jessica looked over and saw reporters gathering in front of the building. Her heart raced. "Emily, put on your coat. We're going out the back door." But it was too late. As they left the building, camera flashes exploded. Reporters shouted questions. "Jessica, is it true you're using Benjamin Carter? How much money did he spend on you? How does it feel to be called a gold digger?" Jessica picked up Emily and ran, shielding her daughter's face from the cameras. They managed to escape in a taxi, but Emily was scared and confused. "Mom, why were those people yelling at us?" It's complicated, love," Jessica said, trying to remain calm. At Mrs. Garcia's apartment, where they had taken refuge, Jessica tried to call Benjamin, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried 3 more times without success. Finally, 2 hours later, he returned the call. "Jessica, I saw the news." His voice was tense. "We need to talk. Benjamin, those photos are of purchases your father organized. I didn't even choose those things. You know that." "I know," he said, but there was something strange in his voice. "But we need to think about how this affects the deal." "The deal?" The words hurt more than Jessica expected. "Of course, the deal. My father is furious. He says this could damage our corporate image. Maybe we should take a break." "A break?" she repeated, feeling something break in her chest. "Just until the situation calms down. You understand, right?" Jessica understood perfectly. At the first sign of trouble, when public opinion turned against her, Benjamin was backing down, protecting his reputation, as she should have expected from the start. "I understand," she said, her voice as firm as she could manage it. "No problem, Benjamin." She hung up and stared at the phone, feeling stupid for having started to believe this was real. "Is Mommy sad?" Emily appeared beside her, her eyes worried. "A little," Jessica admitted. "Because of Uncle Penguin?" "Because of work," Jessica said, trying to simplify. "Did you fight with him?" "Not exactly. He decided it's best if we don't be friends for a while." Emily frowned, processing the information with the straightforward logic of children. "That's just evil penguin stuff," she declared. True friends don't abandon you when things get tough. Sometimes adults do complicated things for complicated reasons, Jessica explained. Stupid reasons, Emily corrected. I'm going to call him and tell him he's an evil penguin who made my mommy cry. Emily, no, Jessica said quickly. We're not going to call him. Why not? Because sometimes it's better to let people get on with their lives. In the following days, Jessica completely avoided the news and social media. She returned to her normal delivery routine but discovered that several customers had canceled orders. Apparently, being famous for the wrong reasons was worse than being anonymous. Isabella had gotten what she wanted. The photos, clearly taken by a professional photographer at carefully orchestrated moments, created the perfect narrative. A poor girl taking advantage of a rich man. How are you dealing with all this? Mrs. Garcia asked one afternoon as Emily played in her apartment. One day at a time, Jessica sighed. At least now I know where I stand in his life. And where is that? Nowhere. It was all a lie. But the words rang hollow because the truth was, somewhere during those weeks, it had stopped being a lie to her. The laughter in the inn's kitchen, the way he carried Margaret, the way he looked at Emily with genuine affection, none of it felt fake. Meanwhile, at the Carter Enterprises office, Benjamin was having the worst week of his life. He tried to focus on work, but he constantly found himself remembering moments with Jessica, the way she laughed when he told absurd stories, how she shielded Emily from the cameras, how she turned a pancake fire into one of the best nights he'd ever had. You did the right thing, William said during a meeting. Public relations require crisis management. She'll understand. But Benjamin wasn't sure he understood. The more he thought about the phone call, the more he realized he had sounded cold, calculating, exactly what Isabella had always accused him of being. Dad, what if we're wrong? He asked one Friday afternoon. Wrong about what? What if Jessica really cared? What if it wasn't about money? William sighed. Benjamin, you've known this woman for a few weeks. Don't mistake gratitude for love. But Benjamin remembered Jessica's face when he'd suggested taking a break, the pain she tried to hide, the way her voice had changed when he'd mentioned the deal. She didn't seem like a gold-digging woman. She seemed like a woman who had been hurt by someone she trusted. I need to talk to her, he decided, grabbing his car keys. Benjamin, don't complicate things. No, Dad, I think I've made it complicated enough. When he arrived at Jessica's apartment, the building was empty of reporters, but she didn't answer the intercom. He went upstairs and knocked on the door. Jessica. It's me. Benjamin. Silence. Please, we need to talk. I think I made a terrible mistake. The door opened slightly, but it was Emily who appeared, a serious expression on her little face. Mommy doesn't want to talk to evil penguins, she declared. Emily, where is your mother? Working. Always working, because evil penguins made her sad, and now she has to work even harder. The innocent accusation hurt more than any corporate criticism. Emily, can you tell your mother that I'm sorry? Only if you promise to stop being mean. I promise, Benjamin said solemnly. Emily studied him for a moment, then nodded and closed the door. Benjamin stood in the hallway, realizing he'd lost much more than a fake girlfriend. He'd lost the woman who made him laugh, who reminded him of who he really was, and who, somehow, inexplicably, had become the most real part of his life. 2 weeks after the media debacle, Jessica was serving canapés at another high society event. This time, it was a charity auction at the Grand Hotel Plaza, and she had gotten the job through a different agency, using her mother's maiden name to avoid recognition. The dining room was packed with New York's elite. Jessica kept her head down, serving discreetly and trying to become invisible. She had learned the art of invisibility over the past 2 weeks. It was surprising how people didn't notice waitresses when they were determined not to see them. More champagne, please, an elegant woman asked without even looking at Jessica. Of course, ma'am, Jessica murmured, refilling her glass. The auction host, a pompous man in a white tuxedo, was on stage announcing the next item. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a truly special piece, a vintage jewelry set from the Sterling family's private collection. Jessica was heading to the kitchen for more drinks when she heard a commotion at the entrance to the dining room. Voices whispered, heads turned. She glanced discreetly and felt her heart stop. Benjamin Carter had just entered the room. He looked different. His suit was impeccable as always, but there was something in his posture, an almost desperate determination she'd never seen before. His eyes roamed the room as if searching for someone in particular. Jessica hid behind a column, praying he wouldn't see her. She wasn't prepared to face him, especially not here at work, where she needed to maintain her professional composure. The auction continues with this magnificent pearl necklace, the presenter continued, oblivious to the growing excitement among the guests. But Benjamin wasn't paying attention to the auction. His eyes finally found Jessica behind the column, and the relief on his face was almost palpable. He started toward her, but Jessica panicked. She turned quickly and headed for the kitchen, hoping to escape before he reached her. "Jessica." His voice echoed through the hall. The presenter stopped mid-sentence. Conversation ceased. 500 heads turned to see what was happening. Jessica froze in the middle of the room, holding a tray of empty glasses. Feeling all eyes on her, she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her. "Excuse me," Benjamin said, addressing the host on stage. "I need to make an announcement." "Sir, this is not the right time," the presenter protested. "It's the perfect moment," Benjamin retorted, stepping onto the stage unceremoniously. The crowd murmured in confusion. Jessica stood frozen, unable to believe what was happening. Benjamin took the microphone, took a deep breath, and looked directly at her. "A few weeks ago, I met a woman," Benjamin continued, his voice echoing through the room. "She poured champagne on me, called me a classy penguin, and completely changed my life." A low chuckle rose from the audience. Jessica felt her cheeks heat up. "Benjamin, what are you doing?" she whispered. But he was too far away to hear. "This woman taught me things I'd forgotten," Benjamin said, his voice gaining strength. "She taught me that helping a stranger on the street is more important than arriving on time for a meeting. That laughing until you can't breathe is worth more than any $1,000,000 contract. That courage isn't about closing difficult deals. It's about raising a daughter alone and still maintaining faith in humanity." Jessica felt tears well up in her eyes. The people around her began to realize who he was talking about and moved away slightly, forming a circle around her. "The last few days with her were the happiest days of my life," Benjamin said, his voice trembling with emotion. "And I ruined it all because I was afraid. Afraid it was too good to be true. Afraid to trust my heart instead of my head." Isabella Reed, who was present at the event, was visibly furious at the back of the room, whispering something urgent to a friend. "Jessica Wilson," Benjamin said, stepping down from the stage and walking toward her. "I ask your forgiveness. Forgiveness for doubting you when I should have trusted you. Forgiveness for choosing my reputation over your feelings. Forgiveness for being exactly the kind of cold, calculating man you deserve to avoid." He stopped in front of her, his hands shaking slightly. "You taught me that life isn't a spreadsheet full of calculations and strategies. Life is improvisation. It's chaos. It's spilling champagne and laughing at the mess." Jessica dropped the tray, which shattered on the floor with a crash that echoed through the silent hall. "Benjamin," she whispered. "I love you," he said, falling to his knees in the middle of the ballroom. "I really love you. It's not a pretense. It's not a deal. It's not a strategy. It's real. It's terrifying. It's the most genuine thing I've ever felt in my life." He took a small velvet box from his pocket. "Jessica Wilson, will you marry me? Do you want to start a real family with me and Emily? Do you want to teach me how to be human every day for the rest of our lives?" The room was completely silent. Even the waiters had stopped working to watch the scene. Jessica looked at the man kneeling before her, the millionaire CEO who had given up all pride and control to come out publicly. Tears streamed freely down her face. "You're an idiot," she said finally, her voice breaking. Benjamin blinked, clearly not expecting that answer. "A beautiful, brave, and completely crazy idiot," she continued, smiling through her tears. "And I love you, too, my elegant penguin." The hall erupted in applause. People shouted, whistled. Some even cried. "Is that a yes?" Benjamin asked, still kneeling. "It's a yes," Jessica confirmed, pulling him up. "I'll be the happiest wife in the world by your side." Benjamin scooped her up in his arms and spun her around, kissing her as the crowd cheered even louder. When they finally broke apart, they were both laughing and crying at the same time. "Emily will be overjoyed," Jessica said. "She already knows," Benjamin confessed. "I asked her blessing first. She said it was about time, and that I could stop being an evil penguin now. And what will your father say?" "That this was the best investment of my life," Benjamin smiled. "And for once, he'll be right." The auction host, completely lost, tried to resume the event. "Well, that was unexpected. Let's get back to the auction." "Actually," Benjamin said, taking the microphone again, "I'd like to make the first bid. $50,000 for everything being auctioned today." The crowd gasped. "For charity, of course," he continued, "in the name of the woman who taught me that true wealth has nothing to do with money." And with that, Benjamin took Jessica by the hand, and they left the room under a shower of flower petals that someone had started throwing, leaving behind a party that would definitely go down in New York gossip history. 3 months later, in the heart of Central Park, a wedding ceremony was taking place that definitely did not follow the traditional protocol of New York high society. The altar had been set up near the Bethesda fountain, decorated with simple, elegant flowers. Gold chairs were arranged in a semicircle for the 300 guests. An eclectic mix of executives in expensive suits, food delivery drivers in their finery, Jessica's neighborhood neighbors, and curious socialites, who wouldn't miss this event for the world. "I've never seen anything like it," murmured Patricia, the catering supervisor, eyeing the homemade hot dog stand that had been set up next to the Dom Perignon champagne table. "That's the idea," smiled Mrs. Garcia, elegant in a navy blue dress Jessica had insisted on buying for her. Jessica wanted everyone to feel at home. Across the room, a vintage ice cream cart played cheerful music, while children ran around, dressed in their best clothes, some holding heart-shaped balloons. "Dad, are you sure this is right?" Benjamin asked nervously, adjusting his tie for the 10th time. He looked impeccable in a charcoal gray tuxedo, but his anxiety was evident. "More right than anything you've ever done," William replied, surprisingly relaxed for someone who was always concerned with appearances. "And, Benjamin, stop fiddling with your tie. You look perfect." The music changed, signaling the beginning of the ceremony. Guests rose as Emily appeared at the head of the aisle, beautiful in a pale pink dress, tossing flower petals with exaggerated enthusiasm. "Don't skimp on the petals," she shouted to the other bridesmaids, making the audience laugh. Behind her, Jessica appeared on the arm of her stepfather, a simple man who had raised her after her parents' deaths. Her dress was simple but stunning. White satin with delicate lace details, nothing extravagant, but perfectly her. Benjamin felt the air leave his lungs when he saw her. After months together, she still took his breath away. "Can you breathe, son?" William whispered, amused. "I think so," Benjamin murmured, never taking his eyes off Jessica. The ceremony was conducted by a judge who was a friend of the Carter family, who had agreed to maintain the relaxed tone Jessica wanted. "We're here today to celebrate something that started with spilled champagne and turned into true love," the judge began, drawing laughter from the audience. During the vows, Benjamin was the first. "Jessica, you taught me that the best moments in life aren't in the plans we make, but in the accidents that happen. You taught me to laugh at myself, to stop to help strangers. And that family isn't about DNA or social status. It's about choosing to be there for someone every day." His voice trembled slightly. "I promise to make you laugh at least once a day. I promise to always stop the car when you see someone in need. And I promise our kitchen will always have pancake ingredients, even if I keep burning them." The audience laughed, and some guests wiped their eyes. Jessica wiped her own tears before beginning. "Benjamin, you showed me that sometimes princes appear disguised as elegant penguins in expensive suits. You taught me that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting, even when you're terrified. I promise to always spill my guts to you when life gets too serious. I promise to teach you the Spanish curse words I learned from Mrs. Garcia. And I promise our home will always be filled with laughter, even when everything seems impossible." When it came time for the rings, Benjamin was so nervous that he picked up the wrong ring and tried to put it on his own finger. "Honey, the ring is for me," Jessica whispered, laughing. "I knew it," he murmured back, blushing. "I was testing to see if you were paying attention." "Of course I was," she smiled. Finally, when the judge declared them husband and wife, Benjamin kissed Jessica under a shower of petals thrown enthusiastically by Emily and deafening applause. During the reception, as guests danced to an eclectic mix of soft jazz and children's songs for Emily, Benjamin picked up his new stepdaughter. "Emily, now I'm going to have a real daddy," she cried, beaming with happiness. "And I'm going to have the most amazing daughter in the world," Benjamin replied, holding her tenderly. "Emily, I promise to be the best daddy in the world to you, and the best husband to your mommy. I promise that nothing and no one will ever separate us again." "Not even a wicked witch?" Emily asked, looking over to where Isabella was watching from afar, clearly uncomfortable with the general merriment. "Not even an evil witch," Benjamin confirmed solemnly. During the speeches, William stood up with a glass of champagne. "My son has always been stubborn," he began, drawing laughter. "But this time, his stubbornness led him to the right person, Jessica. Thank you for teaching my son that there are more important things than spreadsheets and meetings." Benjamin stood up too, putting his arm around his father's shoulders. "Dad, I should thank you. If it weren't for your crazy plan to hire a fake girlfriend, I would never have found the love of my life. It was my best investment." William smiled. "And I've made a lot of good investments in my life." The party continued late into the night, with executives eating hot dogs, socialites dancing to children's music, and Emily teaching some important guests how to play hopscotch. When it was finally time to leave, Benjamin carried Jessica to the car, following tradition. While Emily threw rice and shouted marriage advice she'd learned from Disney movies, "You'll live happily ever after," she shouted. "And don't forget to eat lots of cake." In the car, Jessica snuggled into Benjamin's side. "So, husband, how are you feeling?" "Like the luckiest man in the world," he replied, kissing her softly. "And you, wife?" As if my real life had finally begun, and as they drove through the New York night, leaving behind a party that would be talked about for months in society, the three had finally found what they had been searching for without knowing it. A real family built on love, laughter, and the certainty that the best plans are those we never plan.